Before I play each of these etudes for you, I wanted to give you a quick rundown of some notable points to keep in mind as you prepare for your audition, and we will begin with the freshman and sophomore lyrical trombone etude. Be sure to note your key signature as soon as you begin practicing this piece and mark in all of your D flats, both low and high. The time signature and rhythms of this particular etude aren't super tricky, so be sure to be incredibly detailed about the style in which you are playing this piece. You're going to want to have every phrase and each note within those phrases be incredibly smooth, connected, and lyrical. Notice that there aren't a ton of dynamics written throughout, so adding a bit of your own flair and exaggerating them while still staying musical is a way to help your performance stand out. The 910 trombone technical etude is certainly a challenge this year, but one I know you can take on. We're back to a slightly more comfortable key signature with just one flat, so make sure that you mark in your E naturals, A naturals, and D naturals compared to the lyrical etude. Before you even begin to work on practicing this piece, you need to understand the rhythms. I highly recommend locating each of the 4 beats in every measure, as well as their subdivisions, so you can learn this rhythmically correct from day one. I've actually gone ahead and overlaid the counts on top of the music now if you'd like to pause the video for reference so you can copy them down yourselves. Try to think of this etude in the style of a march to really maximize on your musicality and make sure that you're separating notes and being very specific with your articulations. The junior and senior trombone lyrical etude is in the key of E flat minor, or more specifically 6 flats. So the note that will be sure to trip you up throughout will be the C flats. Go through and mark your low C flats in 7th position and your high C flats in 4th position before you even begin to work. This etude is incredibly musical in nature, and you should attempt to bring that out as much as you can in your performance. Measure 8 is a bit on the tricky side, so for those of you with trigger trombones, consider playing your B flats in a flat 3rd position with your trigger deployed. This will likely result in a smoother and easier to navigate passage. The 11-12 trombone technical etude is in the comfortable key signature of 2 flats or B flat major, though we do have a slightly tricky time signature in 12-8. Now for those of you that don't feel entirely comfortable in 12-8 time, think of it as a 4/4 time with each of the 4 beats subdivided into triplets throughout, so like 4 groups of 3. Thinking of this etude in that way will likely lead to a more consistent and confident tempo. Measures 9 and 10 represent what we call a hemiola in music, which is when the rhythm gives the feeling of switching between duple and triple time signatures. If you think of these two bars like groups of half-note triplets, it will make these bars much easier to both understand and feel while playing. Note that in measure 21, your range is tested a bit more this year than in your freshman and sophomore years, with a high A flat that's played in third position appearing. The lyrical etude for freshman and sophomore euphonium players looks a lot more difficult than it actually is. We have a 6/8 time signature, which I understand is difficult for a lot of you, but if you think of these rhythms as if you were in 6/4 time, with your 8th notes being quarter notes and your 16th notes being eighth notes, it will be easier to understand. Now, I get that what I just said is a lot easier said than done, but when you listen to my recording here in a minute, you'll hear what I mean. We also have a difficult key signature this year with 5 flats, so be sure to go through and mark your D flats and your G flats throughout. In measure 8, we have a couple of sharp notes, so mark that you will play the C sharp with second valve and the D sharp with first valve. The 9-10 euphonium technical etude has a similar key signature of 4 flats, so make sure you go through and note that your Ds are flat, but your Gs are back to being natural. This etude presents a great opportunity to be specific about your articulations and your style. You have accents, slurs, and tenutos throughout, so make sure you're specific in which articulation you choose to use and when. While the rhythms aren't the hardest we've seen throughout the rotations of music that we work through year after year, there are some tricky moments that you should make sure you understand before trying to play this etude at full speed. The junior and senior lyrical etude has one of the more challenging key signatures to date, the key of D major, which has two sharps. Your two sharps are F sharp, both of which are played with the second and third valves, and C sharp, the higher of which is played with second valve, and there's actually no low C sharps in this etude. Note that while this etude is lyrical, it's not exactly slow. 106 beats per minute is a brisk pace for a lyrical etude, so make sure that you're playing with incredibly smooth intentionality and musicality. Your range will be tested this year with the highest note yet, a high A natural played with the second valve in measure 19. The 11-12 technical etude is quite the challenge this year. We have lots of sixteenths, including syncopated rhythms on the E's and the U's of beats highlighted in measures 34 and 35. Also, quick note that the measure numbers are wrong in the selection this year. It really won't affect you much unless you are attempting to communicate with a teacher about specific measures within the piece, but it's not a huge deal. This etude is in the key of F minor, a key center that usually portrays a slightly ominous feeling, so be sure to capture that while also conveying the bouncy, upbeat nature that the rhythm demands. Lastly, in the measures printed as measures 3 and 4, which are actually the 6th and 7th measures of the piece, really pay attention and listen to the intervals you're playing and ensure they are correct from day one. These two bars are difficult to hear, so use a tuner to help yourself out.